Hey everyone, I'm X and welcome to the workshop. For years now, I've been absolutely obsessed with epoxy resin. From these intricate river tables to delicate jewelry pieces and even some pretty wild sculptural art, I've poured, mixed and experimented with gallons of the stuff. There's a real magic to transforming two liquids into something so solid, so beautiful, so permanent. It's like a modern-day alchemy, and I absolutely love it. But let me tell you, the path to that perfect glass-like finish is paved with potential pitfalls. I've made my fair share of mistakes along the way. Sticky messes, cloudy cures, bubble-ridden nightmares, you name it, and that's exactly why we're here today. Because understanding and, more importantly, these common blunders is the absolute key to unlocking professional-looking results every single time. It's not just about following steps, it's about understanding the behind them. So, in this video, we're going to dive deep into the 5 most common mistakes I see people make when working with epoxy resin. We'll break them down, look at the science, and I'll share my tried and true methods for sidestepping these issues. Trust me, get these fundamentals right and you'll be well on your way to creating some truly stunning pieces you can be incredibly proud of. Let's get started. Alright, let's kick things off with what I consider the absolute number one, mission critical. Get this wrong and it's all over. Mistake improper mixing ratios. Epoxy resin isn't like paint where you can just eyeball it. It's a chemical reaction, a precise dance between the resin, part A, and the hardener, part B. Most systems are 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 by volume, but check your manufacturer's instructions. They put that information there for a very, very good reason. Think of it like baking a cake. If you get your flour to sugar ratio wrong, you're not getting a cake, you're getting, well, something else entirely. And probably not something you want to eat. So, what happens when you go rogue on the ratios? If you have too much resin and not enough hardener, your piece might never fully cure. It'll stay soft, tacky, maybe even a bit gooey forever. Imagine spending hours on a beautiful pour only to have it remain a sticky mess. Heartbreaking. Conversely, if you add too much hardener, the reaction can accelerate too quickly. This can lead to excessive heat buildup, a phenomenon called an exothermic runaway, which can cause yellowing, cracking, or even smoking in extreme cases. It can also result in a more brittle final product. Neither of these outcomes is what we're aiming for. The solution here is diligence and the right tools. Don't guess, use graduated mixing cups with clear, easy-to-read markings. For larger pours, or if you want ultimate precision, invest in a good quality digital scale and measure by weight, ensuring you convert the manufacturer's volume ratio to a weight ratio if necessary. They often provide this. I always double check my measurements before I even think about combining the two parts. It might seem a bit fussy, but this precision at the start is the foundation for a flawless finish. We're aiming for that perfect chemical lockup, and that starts with getting your quantities spot on. Next up, let's talk about those pesky, infuriating, project-ruining little spheres of frustration air bubbles. You've mixed your resin perfectly, you're ready to pour, and then you see them suspended like tiny imperfections in an otherwise flawless vision. Bubbles can be introduced in a few ways. Vigorously overmixing your resin and hardener can whip air into the mixture, moisture contamination can cause them, and sometimes they're just inherent in the viscosity of the resin itself. Whatever the cause, we need to get them out for that crystal clear professional look we're all chasing. Now, there are a couple of fantastic ways to degas your resin. The gold standard, especially for those doing deeper pours or wanting absolutely pristine results, is a vacuum chamber. You place your mixed resin into the chamber, seal it up, and the vacuum pump pulls the air out of the resin. You'll literally see the resin appear to boil as all those trapped bubbles expand and rise to the surface, eventually popping. It's incredibly satisfying to watch. This process removes not just the visible bubbles, but also micro bubbles you might not even see, leading to a stronger, clearer cure. But what if you don't have a vacuum chamber? Don't worry, there are other effective methods. A simple heat gun or a small propane torch used and quickly waved across the surface of the poured resin can help pop surface bubbles. The heat momentarily thins the resin, allowing bubbles to rise and burst. Be cautious though, too much heat can scorch the resin or even damage your mold. Another trick for smaller batches is to let your mixed resin sit for 5 to 10 minutes. Some bubbles will naturally rise and pop on their own. Combining a brief rest with a quick pass of a heat gun is often enough for many projects. The key is to be patient and observant. Chapter 3. The Uneven Truth, Mastering the Art of the Pour. Mistake number 3 on our list is uneven pouring. This might sound simple, but how you actually introduce your perfectly mixed, degassed resin into your mold or onto your surface can make a huge difference to the final outcome. Rushing this stage or pouring haphazardly can lead to a whole host of problems, from an uneven surface requiring excessive sanding and polishing to trapped air pockets and even inconsistent thickness, which can affect the structural integrity or the visual appeal of your piece, especially with transparent colors or embedded objects. Think about it. If you just dump all your resin into one spot, it has to flow outwards to fill the mold. This can create waves or ripples that might not fully level out, especially with faster setting resins. It can also trap air underneath as it flows over complex shapes or embeddings. You want a smooth, consistent and controlled pour. For larger surfaces, like a tabletop, I often pour in a serpentine or zigzag pattern, allowing the resin to start leveling itself as I go. For smaller molds, I aim for a gentle stream into the lowest point, letting the resin rise evenly. The goal is to let the resin do the work for you. Most good quality resins are self-leveling to a certain extent, but they need a helping hand with a good initial distribution. If you're doing a flood coat over a surface, ensure your surface is perfectly level first. Use a spirit level. Even a slight incline can cause the resin to pool on one side, leaving the other too thin. Patience and a steady hand are your best friends at this stage. Remember, you're guiding the resin, not just dumping it. Chapter 4. The Contamination Culprit. Why a clean workspace is non-negotiable. This next one, folks, is all about setting the stage for success. Maintaining an impeccably clean working surface and environment. It might seem like a no-brainer, but you would be absolutely astonished at what can find its way into wet epoxy. Dust, pet hair, stray fibers, tiny insects, skin flakes, you name it. If it's floating in your workshop air or lurking on your bench, it's a potential candidate for permanent enshrinement in your otherwise perfect resin masterpiece. And once it's in there, trying to pick out debris from curing resin is a recipe for frustration and often makes things worse. So before I even about opening my resin bottles, I go into full cleanup mode. My workbench gets a thorough wipe down, preferably with a tack cloth or a slightly damp microfiber cloth to capture any dust. I lay down a silicone mat. These things are fantastic because cured resin just peels right off them, making cleanup a breeze and protecting my bench. I make sure my molds are spotless, often giving them a quick wipe with isopropyl alcohol. I also try to minimize air movement in the room while I'm pouring and during the initial curing phase, so no fans blowing directly on the project, and I try to avoid projects that kick up a lot of dust nearby. And let's not forget personal prep. Wear nitrile gloves always, not just to protect your hands from the sticky resin and potential skin sensitization, but also to prevent oils or dirt from your hands from contaminating the mix or the piece. If you have long hair, tie it back. Some folks even wear a lint-free apron or overshirt. It might feel like overkill, but believe me, when you demold a piece and it's crystal clear, without a single speck of unwanted stuff in it, you'll thank yourself for the diligence. A clean start is a strong start. Chapter 5. The Temperature Tango Controlling Your Curing Environment. Our final mistake to avoid, and it's a big one, is ignoring temperature control. Epoxy resin curing is a chemical reaction, and like many chemical reactions, it's highly sensitive to ambient temperature. The temperature of your workspace, your resin components, and your mold or substrate will significantly impact how your resin mixes, flows, degasses, and ultimately, how it cures. Getting this wrong can lead to a host of undesirable outcomes, from a cloudy finish to a too fast or too slow cure, or even a compromised final strength. Most epoxy resins have an ideal curing temperature range, typically somewhere between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. If your room is too cold, the resin will be thicker, making it harder to mix thoroughly and harder for bubbles to escape. The curing process will also slow down dramatically, sometimes taking days longer than expected, and it might result in a cloudy or hazy finish, or even an incomplete cure. I've seen people try to pour in a cold garage in winter and wonder why their project is still tacky a week later. Temperature is almost always the culprit. Conversely, if your environment is too warm or if your resin components are too hot before mixing, the reaction can accelerate too quickly. This shortens your working time significantly, can trap bubbles as the resin thickens rapidly, and in larger pores can lead to that dangerous exothermic heat buildup we talked about earlier, potentially warping molds or damaging your piece. So what's the solution? Control your environment. Work in a temperature-controlled space if possible. Use a room thermometer. If it's a bit cool, you can use a small space heater safely to warm the room. Some people gently warm their resin and hardener bottles in a warm water bath before mixing, but be careful not to overheat them. Consistency is key. And there you have it, 5 common mistakes that can trip you up on your epoxy resin journey. But now you're armed with the knowledge to avoid them. Look at the difference it makes. When you pay attention to your ratios, degas properly, pour with care, maintain a clean workspace, and control your temperature, you're not just mixing chemicals, you're setting the stage for creating something truly spectacular. It's these little details, these consistent good practices, that elevate your work from hobbyist to professional quality. I really hope these tips help you on your next epoxy adventure. If you found this video useful and you want to see more deep dives into materials, techniques, and cool projects, please do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are you planning to make with epoxy next? Or perhaps you have a hard-won tip of your own to share. Let's build a community of makers helping each other out. Working with epoxy resin is an incredibly rewarding process. There's a unique satisfaction in taking these liquid components and transforming them into solid, beautiful, and durable objects that can last a lifetime. Yes, there's a learning curve. And yes, you might still have the occasional hiccup, but that's all part of the making journey. Embrace the process, learn from every pour, and keep creating. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.